The etzem inyan kabbalas el malchus shamayim de Rosh Hashanah ain't doim lekabbalas el dechol Hashanah shel inyan kabbalas el levad shelamate b'kalakeches pnimim. The kabbalas el malchus shamayim, the reinvigorating of a relationship with God on Rosh Hashanah, is deeper than any reinvigoration that I try and achieve throughout the rest of the year. Because the rest of the year seems much more, much less profoundly connected to one's soul. Which again, I think the anniversary is a very good mashal, because at the end of the day, I'm married the whole year. So what makes, when's my anniversary? June 11th. Yeah. What makes June 11th, Yud Gimel Sivan, it's getting old. Yud Gimel Sivan, what makes that day more beautiful than Yud Beis Sivan, the day before? Because that's my Rosh Hashanah. What happened on Rosh Hashanah? The koiches pnimim, the inner faculties, or what happens on your wedding? The inner faculties of you and your wife become interwoven. The bond was manifest. What do we say every single wedding? Yeah, that really they're two halves of one neshama, right? And there's a feminine and a masculine, and they recollide or recombine, and they've been searching for each other, and it sounds beautiful and romantic. Yeah, but at the end of the day, heaven cannot translate into earth. The experience that we feel psychologically, in terms of koiches pnimim, the inner faculties of us becoming one, is manifest on this day. That's what makes the wedding day a wedding day, different than the day before. So we're saying Rosh Hashanah's Kabbalas Ol is a totally different Kabbalas Ol than a simple regular one. The Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim Rosh Hashanah b'chinas primis ve'atzmos nafshay, because right now, on this day, the essence of your soul becomes woven with the essence of God, and again is manifesting and channeling that experience. So now, all of the last, let's say, 10 lines, right? Remember what we're analyzing, Bichlal? We're analyzing the words of the Rambam. The words of the Rambam that is teaching us what is the intimation, the hint of what shofar actually means. So he said, in the words of the Rambam, when he says, Uru yesheni mishinaschem, awaken slumberers from your sleep, right? And search after and examine your deeds and return into Shua. All of that is the idea of Malchus, re-crowning Hashem as king. That's a hint in his own words. And then he says what? Then he says another thing that the shofar is meant for us to be inspired by is the remembrance of our Creator. Who inyan zichroinais is expressive of the second theme of Musaf, which is zichroinais. What does it mean, memory up above? Is that there's a constant recalling, because there is no forgetfulness. So you're trying to tap in to the idea of us being present in God's mind at every moment and second without any forgetfulness. The Yeshleimar. The Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim ein b'zeh inyan hasaga v'hargish prati ki im hanisina v'hamsid el Hashem. This acceptance of the relationship between you and Hashem is not necessarily felt or sensed in a comprehensible way. That now I'm going to rationalize my own relationship, I'm going to do this and this and that. It could just be a simple giving forth of oneself. What's zichroinus? To recall Hashem or to cause Hashem to recall us is simply validating, confirming the fact that Hashem is the truth of my life. And anything that is away from that truth causes forgetfulness. There's an idea that where does forgetfulness come from? Klipa. What is klipa? A shell, a husk. Because what happens when I have a banana in front of me, but I don't know what the inside of a banana looks like? It covers the pneumius, it covers the inner dimension of something. So that's exactly what klipa does. I can daven for 3.5 hours, not like Yosef David on Rosh Hashanah, that's like 6. But at the end of the day, I can daven with my whole heart and soul. But because I'm a human being that has an animal soul, and that animal soul is constructed by the idea of klipa, husks or shells, that their purpose is not, God forbid, evil necessarily, but it causes us to forget what we just created, or what we just forged, or the bond that we just reconnected to. And that's the power of klipa. That's the power of memory, is that memory is able to pierce through the idea of forgetfulness, and that's the power of forgetfulness. That's why we have to zecher amalik every single day. Because Amalek is what? Safek. The doubt in God. Atheism, does he exist, does he not? The doubt in myself, do I exist, do I not? And my powers and my koiches. And therefore every single day the Sheish Zichronis is that I have an Amalek, I have a Safek, Gematria Amalek, in my life. So I have to Zichru. Because the forgetfulness is so real. How Hashem and Elikim are truly one. That means to say that how my body and soul are really coming from one source. That's a whole other topic. To finalize the Rambam's words, and that which he writes, it says that you should gaze upon your souls and you should embellish your paths. That's the idea of shofros. That's the idea of the blowing of the shofar. The psukim, we're talking about the 10 psukim that is the theme, the third theme of Musaf. As it says that the giving of the Torah was done through the sound of the shofar. And that became the seal, the lock that locked the Jewish people into the relationship, the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs.
They heard the Torah, then they heard shofar, and then were locked in, or they heard just shofar?
I think the shofar was first, right? I think the shofar was first. Maybe. Yeah, it's one of the psukim in shofars in Musaf, right? That's the idea. We said it last week. Yeah, all of those. Very good. Yeah.
Yes. So shofar, then there.
I think maybe, because what's after? Koilei Subarakim, right? The Koilei Subarakim is after. I don't know if this is shofar after. But he's asking, Matan Torah was given. This was the initiation. What initiated the giving of the Torah? So now, all of this, Chevra, why did I do this? To make us crazy? It's complicated. There's a lot of details here. But at the end of the day, this is the way the Rebbe Rashab learns the Rambam. It's amazing. And the Rebbe Rashab is the Rambam of Chassidus. This was all an analysis of the Rambam. He's explaining why the Rambam is employing these terminologies. Why is he using this? This is the Rambam's words. Again, maybe he's quoting from different psukim. Arise, sleepy ones from your slumber. Search your deeds. Return in teshuvah. Right? Kama. All of that is Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shamayim, which is Malchias. Then V'zichru Bereichem. That's called Zichroinus, right? And then he says, how can you gaze upon your souls and better your ways? By recalling the sound of the shofar, what is the betterment of one's ways? Is a recommitment to Torah mitzvahs, which was initiated by the shofar on Matan Torah.
What's the difference between shofars and malchus then? If it's all about basically merida and return?
Beautiful question. Amazing question. He answers it already. The answer is right here. The Kabbalah soul is the Mesira. I'm not doing anything. The Kabbalah soul is, Yossi, I love you. Oh, you love me? Now do something for me. So the shofar is the reminder of actual Torah mitzvahs. Right? Keep Shabbos, put on tefillin, etc., etc. Malchias is not that. Malchias is I'm here in front of the king, right? I'm here in front of my beloved, and I'm ready to go. Whatever you need of me. There's no actual action yet. I think that's the difference.
Is shofar is not the same as shofar?
It is.
So isn't that?
No, shofars we just say is the psukim plural of having to do with shofar.
Right, but the whole idea of shofar is tshuva, not necessarily specific mitzvahs. Saying and it's the same thing with Kabbalah Sol. In this way that we're talking about it, you did Merida and now you're returning to
it. Very good. Again, but I'm thinking he's being medayik in the Rambam's words. The Rambam is trying to express these three themes of how the Musaf is constructed, and one leads into the next. It could be a different level of shofar. That's a very good. I hear what you're saying. It could be a different level of shofar. Right. After the parentheses. So now, let's go from before the parentheses. Nimtza. Yeah, back up. Nimtza the shofar inin at shuva. Right? V'zeu klolos inin mitzvah shofar. What we just described in the page and a half, almost 2 pages, is the general theme of the mitzvah of shofar. This is the mitzvah teshuvah that is higher than all the mitzvahs. Why is it higher than all the mitzvahs? Because the only reason why I even want to do mitzvahs in the first place is because I want to feel a sense of closeness, and the reason why I want to feel a sense of closeness is because I feel a sense of distance. So therefore I want to do teshuvah, and that is the key that unlocks all the layers of the heart, that now I want to do what my beloved asks of me. Ubifrat, and particularly that all of the energy and blessings and bounty of the whole entire year that is triggered by Rosh Hashanah, specifically triggered by the specific mitzvah of shofar and Rosh Hashanah. Again, he's asking based on the beginning, first few lines of the Maimer, how can Rabbah abrogate such a fundamental mitzvah? And he's going the past page and a half, almost 2 pages, and how fundamental the mitzvah is. As it's known that Rosh Hashanah in Binyan Malchus, Rosh Hashanah is the day of the building of Hashem's kingship. That we draw down the power of Keser Malchus, which again, Keser Malchus in Kabbalistic idea is euphemistically connected to the power of the pleasure of Hashem's desire to be a king. The Lache Nikra Rosh Hashanah, and that's why we call it Rosh Hashanah, right? As opposed to Tchilas Hashanah. Why Rosh? Al Shem Amshachas Bicheres Keser Malchus. Why is it Rosh Hashanah? Because on Rosh Hashanah we put a crown on God's head. Yes, Kayla. Shenim Shachaz, that we draw down a Krishakot of B'ri Yitzchayim, like it says in the Arizal, and Rav Chaim Vital writes in the Arizal, that's the deeper message of why it's called Rosh Hashanah, because the deeper message of Rosh Hashanah is that we are crowning Hashem's head, which head in Kabbalah represents the idea of Chachma, the idea of the structure or design of creation. But in order to have a structure and design of creation, you have to have a pleasure to even desire a structure and a design. The Indian Keser Malchus, the idea of Keser Malchus, what does it mean? The crown of his kingship, or that we are crowning him to be a king. Yadu as it's known, Shezeh Indian Haratzain Limlucha. This is triggering God's desire to recalibrate his kingdom, to re-want his kingdom.
Keser Ratzain.
Yeah. But it's sometimes Keser is Ratzin and Taina. Different, yeah.
Can you say that it's to make our will His will?
Yeah, beautiful. Also,
that's
also Binyan Hamalchus, that you crown yourself to be transparent to Him. Amazing. By the way, what's Ratzin? What's the word Ratzin?
Will.
That's the water, please. Is the same letters as?
Ratzui?
No. Sinor. Right? I'm a transparent channel. I'm a transparent conduit because I want. When I want what my beloved wants, that's it. We become one. As long as there's a dissonance, there's an obstruction between my being and her being. So therefore, I can't then desire what you want because I don't really want what you want. Here, Rosh Hashanah is Keser Malchus. She's. We're learning the Maimer. She's living the Maimer.
Very, very loud.
Yeah.
When there's a will as well.
reach the volume.
Beautiful, Yosef. Yeah? Hear what he's saying? Make your will His will. The Ratzain, the Tzinoiris. Because the source of where this power is drawn down is from the inner dimension of the essence of Hashem's infinite light. As David HaMelech says, this is the day, the beginning of your work, a recalling to the first day. What is this is the day? This day that Adam Harishon was created, i.e. the sixth day of creation. And the fact that Adam Harishon is created, his Ma'asecha, this is Hashem's Ma'asecha, is really a recalling to the first day. That's similar to the inception of creation, which is what on the first day. That there was a arousal, an awakening of Hashem's desire mitzad atzmai, from His own self. Nothing was here in the world to re-trigger His desire. He triggered His own desire. That He had the will to want to rule, and a desire for creations. As it says, in the origin of the desire of the king, This is a reference to the essence of Hashem's infinite light that is even before Tzimtzum. So now what does that mean? Today, on the day of the creation of man, which again is a reference to the 6th day of creation, but it also is a reference to this year, Rosh Hashanah, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 5,784 years prior. What is happening now? Bechol Rosh Hashanah v'Rosh Hashanah. On every single Rosh Hashanah, shechoizer kol davar lekadmusay, every single item of creation returns back to its origin, returns back to its genesis. If that's the case, that there's a reversal of creation, there's a rewind into. It's like, when you rewind the movie, right? So everything goes back into the pnimius of the Eibishter. And what does it mean goes back into? He's reassessing like he assessed originally, should I or should I not create? And now there's a reassessing of should I not create? And therefore there needs to be a reawakening of the desire to be a king. That we have to trigger the inner essence of Hashem's infinite light, like he originally triggered his own essence to actually desire. Now this is a discussion that the Rebbe Rasham Mamish goes very deep into, the difference between Oyneg and Ratzain. I'll say Mamish one little piece here, just to interpret like what's happening. See, we take for granted that part of the human condition is that we have desires. But by the Eibishter, Ratzain is a non-existence. So therefore, prior to even Tzimtzum, in order to be mitzamtzim his Or Ein Sof, he had to have a desire to even have an Or Ein Sof. Verstehst? Meaning to say the infinite light is only here because Hashem had a will to have a dir b'tachtonim, and therefore if he has a will to have a dir b'tachtonim, then he has to have a will to have an infinite light. Because is Hashem even infinite? And is Hashem even light? And how can you say that he's an infinite light? The fact is that the first thing that Hashem had to create, the first real creation, was a will. Once he created this facet of infinity called will, then he has a will to desire, to then have a tzimtzum, to then have a melucha, etc., etc. So I'm saying here that everything goes back to the kadmusay. Shechoizer kol davar lekadmusay. What goes back to the beginning? Even not only the desire to create the world, but the desire to even have a desire.
Remember I was saying this happens in Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question on that.
Yeah, but one second. And therefore this requires our re-triggering year to year the desire to rule. But now I'm going even deeper. What's the pnimis v'atzmos? The desire to even have the faculty called will, to even want a creation. And all of this, again, what is that key that awakens, that reopens, that unlocks those gates, or that unlocks that desire to have that facet, that faculty of desire, is shofar. Remember shofar, that the shofar is what arouses all of the memory and all of the coronation. Through the yell of the simple cry of the shofar from the depth of one's heart. We awaken and we trigger the desire to even be a king. And again, I'm emphasizing the desire to even have a desire. This is the conclusion. You ask your question. How can our sages cancel mitzvah, this mitzvah, cancel any other one for any other excuse? But this is not even, you're canceling it because usually, again, you'll say a positive mitzvah will cancel out a positive mitzvah, and then a positive and negative will cancel out another negative, right? Yeah, very good. Or the very graphic. This is not for YouTube worthy, but the very graphic example of we're going to have a bris Mirz Hashem shortly, and Chaz v'Shalom in the realm of theory of halachic thought, if a person has tzaras on that particular part of the body, so there's a mitzvah loisase that a person is not allowed to remove tzaras from their body until it's analyzed and assessed, whatever it is. But there's a mitzvah aseh min Torah to have a bris milah, and there's a mitzvah loisase to not be mahul. You hear what I said? Yeah. So contained, couched within the mitzvah of bris is a positive and a negative, and that trumps the only negative of not removing the tzaras. Okay, that's a cool example. I'm sure there's many more, but that's what came to mind. So in that how can you say that we're taking away the past 2 pages? Imagine all the Chazal had the past 2 pages in their head. They knew Chassidus, no? They knew Kabbalah. They knew Arizal. They knew Pri Eitz Chaim. They knew all of this. And they know all of this, and yet they're taking it away because what? Because you're afraid that somebody may carry on Shabbos. What does the Rebbe Rashab care about? So how are we going to draw all of this down? What's going to be the motivation? What's going to be the trigger? What's going to stimulate that power, that energy, that faculty of desire of Hashem? Go ahead.
First of all, are you stopping here? Or are you continuing?
What time is it?
Oh.
I'll stop in a couple lots.
So continue.
Yeah. Now the next lines is what we did this year. Ve'im heyois, and even though the psuke shofris oimrim gam b'Rosh Hashanah shchal b'Shabbos, that we said the psukim of shofris, right? Maybe you'll say, because of a chashash of gzeira derabba, I'm not blowing shofar. We're not allowed to blow shofar because somebody may carry it. But you know what is a good replacement for it? The psukim that we would usually say, that we did say on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, adjunct to the actual mitzvah performance of shofar, perhaps that's a sufficient replacement for the action of shofar. Mikol makim, nevertheless, no, it's not good enough, because those are just what? Those are just words. Those are merely just psukim. Look how amazing this is. The psukim are totally eclipsed by the power of the action. You need the maisa. Excuse me, are you Jewish? I'm going to chase you running. You're going to be on your bike, and I'm going to chase you with my shofar, and you're going to hear the blast of your heart. Zel b'tkin shofar. You have to hear it. You have to use the shofar and hear it. Go ahead. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, my question was, what the Rebbe was saying happens in Rosh Hashanah, this whole, I'm going to paraphrase it, this reassessment for whether